Bartholomew Town, bringing Rhode Islanders closer to their world since 2018. Brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Newport Film, Half Street Group, Navigant Credit Union, and the Audubon Society of Rhode Island.
Bartholomew Town.
Welcome into Bartholomew Town. I'm Bill Bartholomew. Remember, you can find every episode of the show at RIPodcast.com and go ahead and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. By the way, we are approaching episode 900 of the show, and we'll have a special for you coming up with that. A lot ahead in the coming days as well, all across the board. But today, a conversation on something that, look, we've been kind of moving or trying to point people in this general direction, this general realm of startup culture in Rhode Island. And look, whether you're talking about from an accelerator standpoint or just from a concept standpoint, whether you're talking blue tech or well beyond, Rhode Island has a really powerful ecosystem when it comes to startup and startup culture as a whole. And one such example, and perhaps a major facilitator of that, is RIHub. And Annette Tonti joins us. Annette, before we get going, I guess introduce yourself and let us kind of get an elevator pitch of what RIHub actually is.
Thank you, Bill. I'm excited to be here today. So RIHub started way back in 2019. And if you can think about it, it was around November 1st. And suddenly there was a pandemic the following year, early. But we did not stop a minute and have grown. And we are the first innovation campus. And anyone who's been around Rhode Island back during the Governor Raimondo's era, there was a notion of let's create an innovation campus. And we are that innovation campus. However, there are other ones that are our sister brother now, like 401 Tech Bridge. We are an innovation campus, 100% looking at high potential growth startups, which actually are, little businesses, but they have the potential to grow very quickly and very large globally. And often they're underpinned with technology, but not always. Sometimes it's food. Et cetera. So anything you can think of that might grow very quickly outside of Rhode Island, those are the kind of businesses. That's our swim lane at RIHub.
And so this is sort of a pan-spectrum, pan-industrial facilitator, if you will, and incubator and program. And that's something that is really important because, again, we have a lot of focal points in specific areas that I just outlined, but having this sort of consortium at the top, if you will, if you want to look at it that way, is so important. So where does your funding come from?
Yeah, so great question. We're an organization that's funded by IBM, Brown University, URI, and the URI Research Foundation. We're bringing in a new member called Wyconic, which is a really exciting entity coming up here. We're funded there. We also go after grants, and we also go after sponsorships. And just to add to that, most importantly, we're all together as a group focused on enabling and building the ecosystem here. So we're not just working with startup founders across the board. And again, as you're right, pan-industrial, we go across all industries. We're also a leader in building that ecosystem to help those businesses.
And if someone's interested, a business or an individual that's in the startup mode, if they're interested in getting involved, I mean, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Oh, it's so
or
easy.
Let me actually add to that. Or if they want to give you money, if they want to support the mission.
If they want to give us money, yeah, I'll give you my phone number. Just kidding. Seriously, RIHub.org, RIHub.org, very easy. And there are many ways to get involved. First and foremost, we run programs for startup founders. And those programs go from somebody walking in the door with an idea and wanting to know, what do I do next, to somebody who's actually down the road a little bit and actually wants to meet with investors, et cetera. So we help them with what's considered customer discovery and programming and how to build a financial plan, how to build a pitch deck. And then we do pitch scrubs and introduce them to investors. But basically everything you need to build that, build that plan. So the folks that want help, RIHub.org, very easy. Contact us right on the front page, easy, and we reach out to you immediately. On the other hand, if you are somebody who's interested in maybe participating as a mentor, that is also a big activity that we provide, and it's right on the website. We also provide a lot of events. And our events include this Ignite series, which we do usually twice a month. We just did one last night about grant funding, for example, that helps these startups. Our big event during the year, and we built this specifically for building the entire ecosystem and helping the citizens of Rhode Island know that this stuff is going on, is called Rhode Island Startup Week. We do that every year in September. This year, it's going to happen September 18th through the 26th. And we get everybody involved. So the 18th, we're kicking off with Danny Warshay's group out of B Lab, having their final from the summer accelerator that they run there. That's going to be kicking us off. I could go through the whole week if you'd like, but basically the following day we're doing a bus tour throughout the whole state to actually visit these great startups and innovation areas of the state, and anybody can do it. It's open to all citizens. The following week, we're doing something really different this year. We're doing one day on life sciences, very focused on the new life science hub and all of the companies involved with that. A second day in just ocean technology. We do a great deal of work with the Ocean Tech Hub. And then the third day, we do our fun calamari tank, which we created. This is Shark Tank, but it's for Rhode Island. And then at the very end of the week, we have our Newport Investor Summit. That is a very, very special and very elite, I'll call it, activity. So for Rhode Island, it's interesting. We have this gem called Newport. And if you kind of look into it, by the way, I'm a 3-time serial entrepreneur. I raised most of my funding out of New York because there isn't a great deal of funding here yet. We're working on that. And on that last day, the Newport Investor Summit is meant to bring investors from the entire East Coast. So consider from Philadelphia to Maine. One day, we run 36 startups. They're highly curated in 3 tracks. That is a very special event we do in Newport, right on the beach, highly elite. We're doing a cocktail party at Ochre Court, et cetera. So anybody can attend. There is a price point on that one. Most of our events are free, but there is a ticket price on that one. So that's kind of a good overview of all the things we do.
From a programmatic standpoint, no doubt about it. And that's something to look forward to. And we'll continue to kind of look at that ourselves from the outside looking in, the elite scene in Newport. But something tells me you're not talking about the occupants of the remaining mansions. You're talking about elite in concept and execution of ideas.
That's correct. And basically it's a way to gather investors who actually want to know each other. Interestingly enough, we learned that last year, our first year of doing this. They were as interested in meeting with other investors as they were with meeting with our founders, our startups. And we brought them good deals. Investors anymore can find deals like anywhere almost. So we needed to make sure that Rhode Island and Newport in particular became known for our investor summit that is going to bring them deals between the pretty early stage, seed to Series A. Not that everybody knows what that is, but that's a pretty early time frame for startups to get investment.
Absolutely. What are some of your favorite success stories from RIHub's work overall?
Bartholomew Town.
Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience, message, and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. Join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org.
Yeah, without a doubt, it is a joy to me personally, because by the way, I've done this 3 times myself. I am a serial entrepreneur. I know how hard this is. I know how uh, not easy it is to do it here because you're pulled to New York, you're pulled to Boston, but we really want you to try to stay here. I would say, we've got some success stories that are happening right now in our environment. First of all, everybody's heard of Regent Craft. I suspect they're going to be our very first uh, unicorn here in Rhode Island. They're already well beyond anything else we've ever seen here in terms of forward going. I think it's 9 billion in deals they've already done. As soon as they get their amazing electronic vehicle up and going, which is about to happen. There are other companies here that are on the roll. Some of them in ocean tech. Jayabot, for example, we helped them get their first funding. They're well on their way, and they're global at this point, and they're right there, I believe, in Bristol. We've got Flux Marine, another company that started here. We met them like years ago when they were just kind of an idea. They were all electric outboard motors. And then we've got some other kinds of companies. I would love to mention one of my favorites, Flourish Community Care, started here in Newport.
Sure.
They're building a doula network across the United States, and she's really Melissa Boley is the founder there. She's really hitting it out of the park, rolling. We've got Enterprisers just started. They are a new kind of network just for manufacturers and people that are looking for manufacturers. They're starting here in Rhode Island. Then we've got the really fun ones. Restaurant, which is run by a great serial entrepreneur, Nick Cianfioni. He started that company here, but again, it's national. And then one more that I sort of love. I don't know why, but these guys are named. It's Beaglepuss, which is a name for a certain kind of eyeglasses and nose that you would put on. But these are marketing guys. They have really done a great job of creating a new, fully brewed, non-alcoholic beer, which is a category that's taking off across the United States in a big way.
Yeah, for sure.
So these guys are coming out of Pawtucket. Interesting.
Yeah, it ties in the state, which already has sort of a brewery culture here with some major players, whether it's the Guild or beyond. So that's, hey, look, putting Rhode Island into different conversations is always a good thing. And you mentioned the blue tech stuff, which is really interesting because there's so much that we have invested in terms of trying to build Rhode Island as this blue economy capital. And we've done a great job with it. And there's so many more doors opening. A couple of weeks ago, it's been about a month or so now, I was up at MIT for Space Week. And it was a great day, a lot of different, all the conversations that you could imagine that were space related. And I was able to have lunch afterwards with a woman who is going to be a NASA astronaut. And we were talking through a translator because she speaks ASL about the role that ocean tech. I was asking her, we have all this ocean tech happening in Rhode Island. I'm hearing all these things that are happening in space tech right now, agriculture, things that you wouldn't even think of, growing soy in outer space and bringing it back down. Right. How do you prepare for something like that? Not in space. Well, the obvious thing is the ocean. So we got this dialogue going about, could Rhode Island actually be, through the blue economy and through our general innovation economy, a major player in space tech, which is obviously going to transform society.
Interesting, yeah.
So there's so many little nuances.
And you really need to look at the leaders here in this state. 401 TechBridge, who are also, I would say they're part of URI Research Foundation. They're also a member of RIHub. These guys are actually taking it to the next level. There's a new ocean tech hub that they're driving as well. And the answer is, I'm not sure myself how that connects up with space, but what's great is the opportunity is opening up to be able to have the idea and then find a place that you can test your idea here in Rhode Island. And that's really the beauty of being right on the water. So the ocean facility that's happening at the URI Bay campus through URI Research Foundation is going to be a big deal to help that. And this is the issue. It's not somebody sitting at their computer at 4 a.m. No, it's actually we need to be on the water and actually doing that work. And by the way, an Ocean Tech Hub doesn't happen within just the coastline of Rhode Island. We love that we're the leader. However, we need to look at it regionally. So
Yeah.
if you looked at, from Woods Hole to, down to New London, all of this is, a hub for innovation around ocean, but we are leading that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can make the
Yeah.
argument as well going inland, some of the lakes that are available as well for some of the floating solar. I mean, we could go on and on about this one sector. We've got a lot to talk
Yeah.
about, though. Let's talk about some of the programs, and we'll get into the RI Capital Scan in just a second. But let me just give an overview here of some of the major kind of broad mission-oriented work that you do. You have an incubation space at the CIC building. That's the Wexford Innovation Hub right there on Dyer Street in the Innovation District. You do in-person events. We've talked about that, the Ignite series. You also offer mentoring and support. These are all things that we've kind of touched on, but is that a fair summary of the major, the macro of what you do? If anyone's like, well, this sounds great, but what do you do? Is that fair to say that those are kind of the 3 bullet points?
I would say, the program is like, that's sort of the substrate, but the number one thing that we do, and this is the real takeaway, is when you're building a startup company in a business that's going to be successful, there's really one takeaway, which is you've got to network. You've got to be in a network and you've got to be networked. So I would say our number one job for these startups is not only giving them the how-to, which is kind of like not that hard, meaning you can do the how-to. It's that connecting you to the network. That is our power. And basically you come here and we're not going to hold you to ourselves. We're going to say, you need to go talk to the folks at NEMIC or New England Medical Innovation Center or the Rhode Island Life Sciences Hub or the folks at 401 Tech Bridge. That is our, we're air traffic controllers in that sense.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that you connect up. And if it's at the end of the day, you need to connect up with a researcher at a university or an investor. That's really, I'd say, the real sauce that we have that people should come to us for, which is getting to that next step.
Let's take a look at the scene as a whole. And to do so, the Rhode Island Capital Scan is something that RIHub recently released. It's a report that provides a comprehensive analysis of investment trends in Rhode Island over the last 2 years. Can you give us an overview of this report and tell us how this informs some of the decisions and directions that you're trending in?
Yeah, look, so I've been around. My first round of funding was in year 2000. And so it's, been quite a while. I've raised funds for 2 businesses since then. My 3rd business, I didn't raise any funds on purpose. But when you look at a ecosystem for high growth startups, there are certain things that are really necessary. One of them is capital, a certain kind of capital, which is a certain kind of investor. And that doesn't come that easy. They have, there's plenty of these kinds of venture investors or angel investors in Boston or in New York, and we can get there pretty easily. The fact is, you can't understand it until it's measured. So we looked at it and we said, nobody knows what's been going on in this state. There's been just a couple of investors here. So let's take a detailed look. And we went all the way back to 2000 on purpose, just to say, let's get a baseline up to 2023. Because, by the way, this data comes out a little late, so we didn't want to do 2024 yet. The point being, if we can measure it now, we can see what's going on and we can see the issues and the wins. What are we doing well? Where do we need extra support?
Right.
So this report gave us a great deal of insight into our investment strategy for the future. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, and that's so key to have that literal picture of the environment that you're working in. So last question, and if there's anything that we missed you want to hit on, I'd certainly like to hear that. But, my question is, essentially you hear all the time, and this is getting better, but there's this thing that happens in Rhode Island where people go, Rhode Island is, we're never going to be a leader. The government's corrupt. There's no opportunity here. Providence. I'll post like a benign photo while I'm out for a walk in the innovation park at night of the sunset over the skyline. And I'll post that on X and there'll be like 7 or 8 or 10 or 20 people in there. This is a horrible city. You should watch your back. This place is terrible. And, obviously it's nonsense and it shows a closed-mindedness and obviously just a susceptibility to media trends to make people have irrational fears of crime and cities, things like that. This is all by design, trying to get people to be more socially disconnected. But the opposite is what we actually are seeing a lot of in a lot of different sectors. So to the average Rhode Islander who has no affiliate, they're just punching the clock. They're going in 9 to 5. They're barely making ends meet. They hear stuff like this and they go, well, this doesn't impact me. Why should this be something of note and of interest to the average Rhode Islander who has no connection to the startup world whatsoever? What's in it for them?
I love this question. I love the idea around it, and there's a good reason to love it. The fact is, you're right. We do see and hear in Rhode Island a little bit of a negative spin, I'll say. It's a negative spin. We are absolutely, and I mean the big we. There are a ton of organizations just like us that are doing great things here. And it's really up to all of us to continue that drumbeat to make sure people know that there's some great things happening in this state. And why not us? Of course, us. And we have special capabilities because we're so small. We can get you to anybody. And as I said, the network matters here. And the other piece of this is a great place. I call it a little bit of off-Broadway, which every startup needs. So enterprisers right now starting out just doing manufacturing in Rhode Island, hugely easy for them to do. But let me tell you the real reason why this is a value add for Rhode Islanders, why they should be excited. This is about economic diversification.
Yeah.
If you don't have this sector, I call it maybe the third leg of the stool. Large corporations, small business, which by the way, we are not small business. Small local businesses are restaurants and wonderful companies that we do a lot of here in Rhode Island. This is high growth startups. It's economic diversification because when the other two have issues, we can lean on this, which has not really been thoughtfully built out in this state. We are really building this out in this state. The other piece here is it will attract talent. So much as you want to complain, the most upbeat people I know are coming to Rhode Island to do things, and they're looking around going, we love it here. So there are some positive spinning people. I make jokes that we're going to gather more of them through our high growth startups, people coming in from places like New York and places like, Austin, Texas, for example.
Sure.
And then also job creation. This ultimately will be a place that we can create the kind of jobs we want here. Generally, high growth startups have higher paying jobs. So people spinning out of University of Rhode Island, Bryant, Brown will have a reason to stay here because those young people are it, man. They are the ones that will guide us to this future. And they have amazing thoughts about the future, meaning they want to make it good. And I gain energy from working with those young people. And as Rhode Island, as we can continue to keep our young folks here with great jobs and great opportunities, this is what's going to help that average negative spin to actually get better. Does that make sense?
I don't think you could have said it any better, and I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, I'm totally 1,000% there, and it's pushing the rock up the hill like Sisyphus, but at the same time, it's essential. And you see more and more people coming around on this, or hear more and more people coming around in this broad conversation. I think a good illustration, I mean, you're going to hear all kinds of spin from all kinds of sectors. The reason Hasbro left, I can tell you, is because they did not have confidence that the talent was here. There should have been more people in those meetings with Hasbro that had purple hair and a variety of piercings than boxy suits from guys in boxy suits from Northern Rhode Island, to show a firm like Hasbro, hey, you're innovating, you're pivoting into a space that requires a comprehensive understanding of AI, where AGI is going to fit into all of this, and where in general, we have the skills, be it you pick your variety of design programs, whatever. And they did not have the confidence that, one, we had those people, and two, that if those people came out of a RISD, that they would stay here. We need a full-scale ecosystem to attract. Then you have competition for talent. And then the innovation hub at lunch, you go down there and there's people talking about, not just, I mean, I love the Swans and I love talking about the Swans or whatever that are down in the park, but you'll hear more and more and more chatter. That's going to transform the state. Couldn't agree more. Annette Tonti, one more time, what's that website for people that want to get involved in this in any way?
It's RIHub.org, which is RIHub.org. Please visit the website. You'll see lots going on there. And we'd like to hear from you. Again, if you're a person who has an idea and not sure what to do next, we're the organization that will help you figure that out.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.